Hello and welcome to another episode of the ISO Ball Podcast with your host, Derek Terrio, your place to learn about the NBA on and off the court. And once again, we have my good friend Nick Raponi here joining us for the Eastern Conference update, if you will, as we've been about 2 weeks into free agency. Nick, welcome back again.
Thanks, Derek. I always love being on.
Yeah, always love to have you as usual. So like I alluded to, we're going to just go and do the Eastern Conference. A lot to talk about here. We're going to try and keep it kind of condensed from the standpoint of, not trying to go too deep into every team. I mean, you could do a podcast on each team individually for, you know what I mean? So we're just going to try to keep it concise, but give you just kind of a snapshot of things. And so another part of this pod that I think really needs to be kind of addresses the money portion of things. And when I made this pod a couple months ago, we talked a lot about learning, talked a lot about understanding stuff that maybe I didn't really understand and some of the other listeners haven't understand. And one of those things is the salary cap, and that's really what makes it. And Nick, I know you understand this. That really kind of changes things and takes it out of the kind of fantasy basketball world and more into the realistic world. If you
No, exactly. Yeah, like and this is in an era where we're seeing teams that are like fantasy teams,
exactly.
Like in Golden State, but the salary cap still makes it tougher to do so, which is obviously so important. But hey, if you draft well, you can get around the salary. That's kind of the only way you can get around the salary cap, and you can't do it for long. But if you draft well, you spend that money on the big free agents and you draft well, and I think that's the only way you can get around the salary cap. But
definitely, and
there's a lot. It's complicated. It's more complicated than people think, though.
Yes.
It's more like, oh, you see a salary cap. A lot of people think, oh, you just can't go over that number. Like you just can't. But that's not the way it works.
Exactly. Exactly, and we're going to get into that. And so, and you alluded to that very nicely, is that the NBA works in what's called a soft cap league. So that means even though there is a salary cap, unlike the NFL, where you're hard capped at that number, you're actually able to use exceptions and little kind of maneuvers to kind of get over the cap. So
the NFL you can go over a little, but not as much as the NBA. Yeah,
okay, fair enough.
Sure.
So thanks for clarifying that. So the salary cap level in the NBA is set at 101.8 million, and so there's a gap between what's called that and the luxury tax. And what the luxury tax is supposed to do is essentially, for lack of a better term, incentivize teams to not go over and spend more than the small market teams were. So, for example, the New York Knicks, the LA Lakers are big market teams. Yeah. They're going to be able to spend a lot more money just on the sheer ownership idea of, James Dolan, who has a ton of money.
It's the market. You have a big market, you're going to get your money back.
Exactly. Right. And whereas a team like, Oklahoma City, Utah, a little bit tougher for them to, gain TV contracts and gain the necessary revenue to be able to pay out the wazoo for some of these players. So
exactly.
So that kind of details it. So the luxury tax line is set at $123 million. So you can go over the cap, but be under the luxury tax. And that's something you're going to see a lot of with these Eastern Conference teams. A lot of these teams are over the cap but under the tax because the luxury tax bill essentially is what most owners want to stay away from. And these owners are billion-dollar owners. Sometimes these luxury tax bills are not too taxing, for no pun intended, but sometimes if it's necessary and you're a team that's not going to win, the Charlotte Hornets are a great example of this. Yeah. Michael Jordan is not paying the luxury tax for this team by any means, and he's right not to do so.
Exactly. That's exactly it. You have to, as an owner, you're thinking, yeah, I have the money. If the players are there and we have a chance at going in the playoffs, going deep on the playoff run, I'm going to pay the luxury tax because what we make in that playoff run is going to pay off the luxury tax. But if you're a team, like you said, like Charlotte, it's not worth it to pay that luxury tax just to maybe come sixth.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Make that push to maybe come, sixth and losing the first round. That's just not worth it for you as an owner. You pocket that money, which you get taxed.
Exactly, right? So that's kind of the idea here. And then what we have is the last part of this is the luxury tax apron, which essentially is the ceiling where you're hard capped at this number when you get into using exceptions. So that's set at 129 million, and we're going to get into exceptions in a second. So again, salary cap 101.8, luxury tax line 123.7, and the luxury tax apron 129.7. Okay. So understanding that, the league also gives out what's called exceptions, and these are what make the league a soft cap league because it allows you to go and spend more than just the intentional salary cap that they give you. So it basically allows teams to spend beyond just what they're allowed in the cap. So there's three main exceptions that are given to every team every year depending on where you fall in the salary cap range. The first is called the taxpayer mid-level exception. So if you are paying the luxury tax, if you're over that 123.7 million, you are essentially what's called a tax-paying team, and you are subject to what's called a taxpayer mid-level exception of 5.3 million, which you can use to go out and sign players, and this does not count towards the salary cap. That's the big part you need to understand, is that these exceptions do not count towards the salary cap, but they do count towards your luxury tax bill. So that's why sometimes you'll see like a great team like Boston have a taxpayer mid-level over there, but if they're paying the luxury tax and their team is already so good, maybe it's not really worth it for them to use the taxpayer mid-level. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So there's scenarios like that. The second one is the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. So if you are over the luxury cap, over the salary cap, but under the luxury tax, you're subject to the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which is stated at $8.6 million. So more than the taxpayer mid-level exception. And this also incentivizes teams to get under the luxury tax so that their exception is more, and then they can go and offer that to other players.
It's a way, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong,
For sure.
It's a way to give teams incentive not to tank,
Exactly.
Be competitive, give them a little more cap space to try and make that push.
That is also another reason as to why that is a good point, although not every team uses it like that.
No, exactly, but I feel like that was maybe the intention of it.
Yeah,
perhaps.
for sure. Definitely, that definitely is one of the benefits, I would agree. And then the last one, just to finish off kind of all the little tax lingo here, is the room mid-level exception, which if you are under the salary cap, under 101.8, you're granted the room level exception, which is $4.4 million. So again, that's just the overall money thing. When you hear these terms like taxpayer mid-level, non-taxpayer mid-level, now you know what we're talking about. Exceptions that allow teams to spend over what the basic salary cap has given them without counting towards the cap, but also counting towards the luxury tax.
Exactly.
Perfect. So that's a good kind of briefer. So now let's, without wasting any more time, let's get into some of the teams. So let's start off with the Atlanta Hawks. Starting off just kind of with their money situation, they're about $8.5 million in cap space, so $8.5 million under the cap after signing Jeremy Lin, and we'll get to that transaction in a second. Yep. So they do have some cap space to compete in 2019, along with some picks. We mentioned that on the draft preview pod, review pod, that they have potentially 3. Which is great. So Ken Bazemore right now is their highest earner, making $18.1 million per year. Not a great contract. That takes up 18.1% of the salary cap, and they still have the room mid-level exception available if they want to use it. So,
but they're not.
No, probably not. They're not a team looking to win at this point. If
the roster is pitiful.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess that's probably a good time to go through that. So, they just added Jeremy Lin on a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. A couple of transactions actually led to that trade. It was a little bit complex, actually. Involved Denver doing a salary dump, getting off Fareed and Arthur to give up a first rounder to get under the tax, and then there was another thing where
that's just what you were just
exactly.
Talking, that's just an owner not wanting to pay any luxury.
Exactly. That's a cheap owner,
is
what that is. Thank you for pointing it out. That is a cheap owner. That is someone who is willing to give up first round picks to not have to pay what was a very small luxury tax bill after getting off of Wilson Chandler and sending him to Philly. We'll talk about that as well. But yeah, that's an interesting point, and I guess we'll save that for the Western Conference. That's more the Nuggets. But so a couple of transactions led to Jeremy Lin heading to Atlanta. So along with the drafting of Trae Young at number 5, Kevin Huerter, the shooting guard, at number 19, and then Omari Spellman, who's looked actually very nice in Summer League. I'm not sure. Have you watched
I've been watching
Summer
League. Oh yeah, I've been watching Summer League in general. Just a lot of it.
Excellent. Yeah, so the Atlanta Hawks have been coming on NBA TV for whatever reason. I guess Trae Young's a nice attraction. He's had an up and down Summer League as well. But in terms of Omari Spellman, I really liked what I've seen out of him. I think he can compete for some rotation minutes if John Collins takes up that center spot. I think he could compete for some backup minutes on this roster.
I agree, definitely.
So that's a good guy to have. A couple free agents: Tyler Cavanaugh, unrestricted; Malcolm Delaney, unrestricted; Josh Maggette, unrestricted; and Andrew White, unrestricted as well. Again, guys fighting to make the roster, and nothing permanent here.
Exactly.
So under contract right now for the Atlanta Hawks: Kent Bazemore, DeAndre Bembry, Antonius Cleveland, Josh Collins, Dwayne Dedman, who opted into his deal, Tyler Dorsey, Jeremy Evans, Jalen Morris, Mike Muscala, Miles Plumlee, Torian Prince. Yeah, Mike Muscala. Oh my goodness.
No, Miles Plumlee.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. Miles Plumlee. Yeah, and Dennis Schroeder, who obviously is looking to be moved at this point with all the influx of point guards. So this team clearly is not very good. I mean, I don't think it takes a genius to figure this out. This is not a very good team.
May I say that? Correct me if I was wrong. Is their roster without all the undrafted free agents that have been invited to summer camp and stuff? So
this
is just like the projected roster.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. And one or two more guys can make that team depending on how kind of things play and things of that nature. But that's pretty much what you're looking at for a roster spot. And I mean, this team is really this team has a couple bad contracts on his books, but does have some good expiring deals, like taking on Jeremy Lin's $13 million. I think they got I'm not sure what they got. I think they got a couple seconds out of that, which is good because again, you're not doing with that anything with that space this year anyway. You're going to lose. So if you're going to have, and then they're still under the cap, right? So it doesn't even matter.
But I still think Jeremy Lin, he's not a great player, but he's not. You're adding
your guy that's going to help you win.
Yeah,
that's kind of true.
Exactly.
That is kind of true. He's not that bad. I would agree. I would agree.
Unless you're planning on just trading him at the deadline or something, but. The contract's not fantastic.
No, I mean he opted into his player option, which looks like it's about $13 million.
Yeah, I guess it expires next year, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's what that was my point, right? Just a 1 year, and he is coming off. He's coming off a patella tendon tear.
But it might help you win a couple more games. It could cost you, that lottery from 3 to 4.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That is a possibility.
But it's not the biggest.
It really isn't. But I mean, you got again Miles Plumlee. I think is the worst contract on this team. As
12, it's not even
12.5 million for
Expires
Miles Plumlee.
2020.
Yeah, that's just bad. Never want to see that. That's really the biggest hurter. But I mean, I'm just looking at these deals like Torian Prince, John Collins, Kevin Herter, DeAndre Bemery, Omari Spellman, Antonius Cleveland, Tyler Dorsey, and Jalen Morris are all rookie deals or minimum deals.
And Torian Prince.
He can play.
He's a player. He's a player, man. I like him, man. I really like him.
Yeah, I remember him at Oregon. He was a player.
No, he can play.
Yeah, definitely. And so that's definitely a guy maybe you're looking to keep in the fold. Yeah. But I think as a general rule for this team, I think this is probably the last thing we should say is nobody is too good to move on from at this point.
Oh yeah, everybody's
other than maybe Trae Young. I don't think.
You're gonna hold on to him for a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think anybody's too good to move on to, and I think that therefore Atlanta is pretty much open for business across the board.
But I'd be much happier with Atlanta's situation if they didn't trade Doncic.
Yes, well,
but
obviously.
That's okay.
We kind of dove into that already.
Yeah,
and
that's a dumb trade. It's just a dumb trade. But
it'll take time to see kind of who won and who lost from that. But
yeah, for sure. But if you ask me right now, you gave up Doncic's much better player.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
I don't think there's much there.
Fair enough.
But hey, I could be wrong.
Yeah, fair enough. It's not an uncommon opinion. Definitely, some people thought Doncic was the pick there, but again,
Doncic was the pick there.
It's gonna,
and then they traded it.
Yeah. And
they traded him.
It's gonna take some time to see between Trae Young if he can be anywhere near as good as Doncic, or even that first round pick next year also is going to see between those two players. We'll see combine how good it is. But again, it'll just take some time to see who's going to win and lose this trade.
Yeah, for sure, but
looking like Doncic's probably the better player at the top though. Okay. Forget Atlanta. They're not great. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Boston Celtics. Quick overarching thing. They I think are also over the cap by about 8.5. Oh, sorry. Just like Atlanta was under the cap. The Boston Celtics are over the cap by 8.5 million, but under the tax. Yeah. So in salary, they have about $150 million in payroll. 2019, in terms of competing that summer, not really as much of a priority for this team, just considering they're already locked into Gordon Hayward, Kyrie Irving, Al Horford. They have a lot of depth on their roster and rookie scales in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So they're not. I don't think they're necessarily looking to make space to try and go make a splashy free agent move. They're probably looking to make a trade, if anything, just considering their space.
I think they're fine with what they got, though.
Yeah, I agree. But I would agree. I think if they were to do something, that's probably the route they would go. Gordon Hayward, the highest earner at $31 million this year, 27.1% of the cap, and they still have their non-taxpayer mid-level as well from Boston. So let's go through their roster. I mean, they didn't really make too many changes. I mean, I think the only change they made was bringing in. Oh yeah, they signed Brad Wanamaker out of Fibonacci in Italy. Apparently, he was really lighting up that league.
Yeah, he was playing well, we'll see.
It's tough to judge those Euro guys, especially we don't really watch any tape. That's hard to kind of get access from here in Canada. Robert Williams, again, we talked about him. We thought he was a steal. A little bit of attitude problems. I hear he missed his first press conference and the shoot around to his first summer league game.
Not a good start.
Not a great start. So those attitude problems.
He could be out of the league soon with that.
Yeah, those attitude problems might be persisting a little more than
I like how they signed Larry's son, which was nice, Jabari Bird.
Oh, yeah?
No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, man, you got me there. I honestly thought that was true. So a couple free agents here. Shane Larkin unrestricted. I don't expect he's coming back for at all, to be honest, now that they have their point guards.
Shane Larkin, Greg Monroe are both not coming back.
Yeah, Marcus Smart is an interesting situation. I mean, Marcus Smart's he's really tasting the tough medicine of restricted free agency when nobody has money.
Exactly, it's tough. It's tough for him.
It's a tough business because in restricted free agency, what happens is the team that can offer you that contract again is playing hardball. They say, okay, go get an offer sheet first. Yeah. Go get an offer sheet first.
Yeah, we're not going to waste it.
Exactly. Yeah. Go get an offer sheet first. Let's see how much money you're making, and then we'll decide if we're going to match it. But until then, we're going to make the offer that we're comfortable with in terms of if you're the Celtics. So that's how that pretty much works with Marcus Smart. Getting into the roster, Gershon Yabusele, Daniel Tice, Jason Tatum, Terry Rozier, Semi Ojeleye, Abdel Nader, Marcus Morris, Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, Gordon Hayward, Jaylen Brown, Aaron Baines, and Kadeem Allen. So I think that there's maybe one or two spots for them there in terms of people on the roster. But looks like Boston's settled then. I don't think they're doing anything. It seems like they're ready to run it back with a healthy Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving and just see where this team is going to land.
And they're the favorites in the East, to be honest.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think there's any unless the Raptors can get Kawhi.
Yeah,
we'll see. But yeah, as of right now,
they're the favorites.
Sitting today, July 15th, yes, they are the favorites. Agreed. Okay, nothing to talk about them. We'll just keep moving. Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn Nets are, again, another team that's over the cap, but under the tax. They're over the cap by $6.3 million.
That sucks, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, let's get into them because I kind of like the position they're in if we actually take a deeper dive into this.
No, it's not the worst position because of what they were put in.
Yeah.
When they made that push with Paul Pierce.
That set them back like a generation. What a bad trade that was. Oof. Just awful. But so under the tax by $15.5 million. So they have $18 million in dead cap from the Howard. So that's why I don't think that this is as bad because $18 million of that is the Howard buyout. So if you could just picture that going out the door next year, 100%. There's a lot of money available. Their highest earning player at the moment is Alan Crabb, earning $18.5 million this year. He's taken 17% of the cap. It's rough, I agree, but at the same time, there's no superstar there. There's room for somebody to come in and enter that.
I think D'Angelo Russell's that guy there.
We'd like to see him develop a little bit more. I think the jury is still a little bit out on him, just considering the 1 year in Brooklyn. And it was good while he was healthy, but I think after he got healthy, it was just kind of. I'm still a fan of D'Angelo Russell too.
I don't know how good I don't know what the numbers are going to end up, but I think D'Angelo Russell will be a very useful player for a lot of teams for a very long time. Put it that way, for a very long time.
I agree. I think, you know what? I think he's going to get his act together as well. I think you started to see a little bit of that in Brooklyn. That LA experience with the whole, Snapchat bull and all that other immaturity, I think has kind of passed him by. I think he's really starting to come in his own as a leader of a team, which obviously you want to see from your star point guard. So I agree. I haven't really given up on D'Angelo Russell yet, not by any means, but we'll see where it takes him essentially. So they have no exceptions. The Brooklyn Nets have no exceptions left. They use the whole room mid-level to re-sign Ed Davis, and they're primed to compete. Yeah, I know, and they're primed to compete in the summer of 2019 with a lot of money coming off their books. They made a couple of trades for some players that have 1 year deals, and I think that's another thing too. Is we're seeing a lot of these free agents that signed 1 year deals. I think who was it? Mark Stein tweeted that 60% of the deals that were signed before I think like a couple of days ago were 1 year deals. That just tells you. Yeah, that just tells you. Yeah, exactly. Not only is there no money in this market, but there's also a ton of money in next year's market. So there's a combination of those two things happening there. So Brooklyn, I think, is in a great position just financially. The fact that they're able to get some money coming off their books and really, attract maybe their first star player ever, realistically, via free agency to their market, in terms of just, trying to finally finish off this rebuild and just kind of get someone to pair with D'Angelo Russell at this point. So I think that's probably what Brooklyn's looking at this point. So in terms of who they added, again, we talked about that Nuggets trade. They added Jarrell Arthur and Kenneth Faried, so that was the salary dump was going to Brooklyn. And again, both of those are expiring contracts.
Exactly.
Which was good for Brooklyn, and they picked up the Nuggets first round pick for that as well. So good value there. They drafted. Oh man, I'm gonna butcher this name.
Zanen Musa and Radionis Crooks.
Oh, beautiful! Thank you. So that helped me out a lot. They lost Nick Stauskas. He signed a 1 year deal with the Blazers. Dwight Howard they got in the Charlotte trade, but was then waived and bought out, as we just talked about there. Traded Jeremy Lin to Atlanta, and Isaiah Whitehead also got traded to the Nuggets in that combination deal we mentioned. Free agents for the Brooklyn Nets: Quincy Acy is unrestricted. Dante Cunningham also unrestricted. Milton Doyle, restricted free agent. Joe Harris, a guy I actually kind of liked in Brooklyn. He provided some value here and there. I didn't mind him, actually. That was one of the guys I just kind of, he kind of caught my eye. I'm not saying
he's not great, but he's not terrible.
Not terrible. A guy that you might think about bringing back. Jaleel Okafor.
No, he's not coming back.
I would be surprised if he gets anything more than the minimum from any team. Yeah. And then James Webb III, and honestly, I have no idea who that is, but he is unrestricted for Brooklyn as well. Well, if he sees minutes, I'll know who he is, I promise. Under contract as of right now for Brooklyn, we got Jared Allen, DeMarre Carroll, Alan Crabb, Spencer Dinwiddie, another nice guy who we think can play a nice role. Maybe if you want to pair him with D'Angelo Russell or put him as a sixth man.
Yeah, no, Spencer Dinwiddie, he can provide value for sure. Same with Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. They're both. I
agree with you there, 100%. And you know what? We might as well throw Karis LeVert into that mix as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I like what he can do with the ball in his hands.
They have some useful players.
And that's why I like the position they're in, because they have a lot of money. They're coming off the books in 2019. They can be competitive, and they have a nice little young core where it's not like full of just second unit players. Like some of these guys can actually play, and with a nice glue guy, a nice star where you can just kind of take some of the burden off these guys, allow them to be more role players than stars. I think it could benefit Brooklyn a lot.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with them. Anything you want to add just before we kind of move on to Charlotte?
No, I think Brooklyn, like you said, they're not going to compete that much, but they're in a good spot. Like, I'm thinking maybe 11th in the conference, somewhere around there, and then go from there. And I think they're looking good next year because, like you said, some money's coming off the books, and I think you have some useful players. You try and land. Brooklyn's not a bad market.
No, I don't think it is either.
Land a guy. And
great stadium, too. Barclays Center's amazing from what I hear. So
it's good for basketball, for sure, yeah.
There you go, right? So, great position for Brooklyn in my end, I guess our opinion as well. All right, Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte Hornets, again, are over the cap, but under the tax. They are over the cap by $18.3 million, but under the tax by $3.4 million. And when you're under the tax that much, that's how you know that there was a goal in mind for you not to get there. We are not paying that luxury tax bill. $120.2 million in salary for the Charlotte Hornets. Nick Batum at the moment is their highest earner, making $24 million, about 20% of the cap. They've used part of their tax pyramid level on Tony Parker, Devontae Graham. I think we're going to have to talk about that eventually in a minute. And then they have the cap space to go into 2019 summer, but not really an attractive destination if you look at the Charlotte Hornets, especially have the unwillingness for Michael Jordan to not pay the tax. Doesn't really mend well for free agents looking to win a championship.
Not right now. I think if he gets those pieces, Jordan's a winner. He's gonna pay the luxury tax.
Agreed. That is a fair point. Yeah, I think the problem with this team is this is a very old team making a lot of money. And,
it's not a good spot. He's not going to pay the luxury tax for this team.
No.
But I'm telling you, if this team kind of, in a couple years, if they turn it around, Michael Jordan, he is not going to be scared to pay the luxury tax.
Oh, I know.
No way to compete.
I know.
This guy's one of the greatest competitors of all time. Whether he's on the court or in the press box, on the sidelines, it doesn't matter. On the court side, it doesn't matter. This guy is going to compete.
You are right. And you know what? Just looking at the tax thing here, I think it's hilarious. Okay, so this is a player who earned his contract. Well, first of all, I got traded to Toronto, earned his money, went to the Magic,
earned his money. Well, earned his money.
Earned his money from the standpoint of the way he played in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? From Bismack Biyombo, 2016.
He didn't earn that contract.
In that market, he did. He
had one good playoff game, and that guy earned
one good playoff run. It was an incredible playoff run.
Okay, yeah, good playoff run, good solid season in general. You got to be out of your mind to give Bismack Biyombo that contract. That's laughable. That is laughable, that contract.
Okay, I agree. Okay, I agree. I totally agree. But it's funny you mention that because
he's an eighth man at best.
I think it could actually be a starting center in this league. 30 teams?
No.
30 teams? You don't think he's a top 30 center?
There's not even a question. I don't even know if he's top 60 center.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So we clearly have disagreements about Bismack, but I think it's hilarious that case. So he went to Toronto, he quote-unquote earned his money, went back to the Magic, proved that he wasn't worth that money, and then ends up in the same place that he got traded from in the first place in Charlotte. I thought, and for a ridiculous contract, that's $17 million a year, I thought for the next 2 years, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Sorry, I know that was a long story, but that was necessary. But just going down this Charlotte team, just to prove how much trouble they're in terms of money here. $24 million for Batum this year, $17 million for Bismack Biyombo, $14 million for Marvin Williams, $13.5 million for Cody Zeller, $13 million for Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, $12 million for Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is like the 8th or 9th most paid player on this team. Like, how can that be good?
Kemba has always been so underappreciated. Though.
I
When
know.
it started at UConn, coming into the NBA, like he's so slept on. The guy is unbelievable.
Man,
Unbelievable.
I
Obviously,
agree.
people know Kemba Walker's a good player, but
Totally agree.
I just still think he's slept on. You know, it's like Dame. Like Dame's amazing. Everyone knows Dame's good, but
Yes.
Dame is still slept on for how good Dame is, in my opinion.
I think at this point, now that he's made a first team
Okay,
All NBA
yeah,
team,
it's
I think
over now.
I think he's there.
It's over now.
I think
but
we're,
that's before last season for sure.
Agreed. I will agree with you there. But that just kind of just shows you just Charlotte's situation here, just a little bit ridiculous in my. They're gonna have to wait this out. They're gonna have to waive some players, make some
Like
give up some first rounders to try and get off some salary. Like they're just gonna like if they don't want if they're that content and that determined on not paying the tax, then they're gonna be cash strapped and resource strapped.
But
for
nobody
a
is going to take Batum. Nobody's going to
No.
take Zeller.
while.
Nobody's going to take Biombo.
No.
Well, apparently, according to you, everyone's going to take
No. I said he earned it in Toronto. After that, that's it.
Marvin Williams. These are contracts not too many teams are taking.
Yeah,
You know
and I
what
mean, and I mean, if I'm just looking at the dead cap number here, like 34 million in dead cap for Biombo. He's got a 2 or 3 more years left on that. Another 2 years for Marvin Williams. Another 3 years for Cody Zeller. Like
It's just a bad situation.
Exactly,
though,
exactly.
It's
And
a bad situation.
it's making me depressed just talking about
Get
it.
my
Okay.
boy Kemba out of there.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. They should
free
have traded
Kemba.
him last
Free
offseason. They should have traded him last offseason, if you ask me.
For sure. But before we pass up and
Last
leave
trade
Charlotte,
deadline,
I want to
yes.
say one thing.
We didn't even go through the roster. Oh my goodness, we forgot to talk about Tony Parker. See, this podcast is going to go longer than I expected. Okay, sorry. Let's go through the...
Maybe an extended podcast.
Yeah, maybe
an extended podcast.
Fair enough. Okay, sorry, what were you saying? Go ahead.
I would say we'll go through the roster, but I think what was I saying about Tony Parker? Signing him was big because I'm not giving up on Malik Monk.
No, me
and I
neither.
think having him there for around Malik Monk is going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
Did you see Malik Monk's reaction when he found out that Tony Parker signed?
No.
Dude, he was at the summer league game. He's like, the reporter asked, so how's it going to be? He's like, how's it going to be playing with Tony Parker? He's like, we got Tony Parker.
Yeah.
He's like, they kidding me? He's like, you joking?
That's awesome.
It was the same reaction that Hassan Whiteside found out
Yeah.
when Dwayne Wade came back to
Yeah.
Miami last year. It was like the same reaction.
No, yeah.
So that was awesome. So you can see he was like, what's the first thing you gonna do? He's like, I'm gonna get his number and ask him everything I
For
can.
sure, yeah, no, it's great. It's fantastic. I didn't see that, but it's perfect. It's a good match.
Totally agree. I love Tony Parker there. Very sad to see he left San Antonio like that. That was a toxic situation that he left, I guess, realistically, because let's
Yeah.
face it, like I'm sure the San Antonio Spurs were thinking of Kawhi Leonard and the fact that he's not a huge fan of Tony Parker right now when they decided not to bring him back. Because at a number like $5 million,
yeah.
the Spurs could have brought him back.
Oh yeah.
100%. And especially a guy that's been with your franchise for 17 years.
He would have
You
taken-
could have paid that.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's why it's kind of sad for me. But all right, let's go through their roster. My goodness. Okay, so added Bismack Biyombo for $17 million a year. Drafted Miles Bridges, Devontae Graham, and that last name. Oh my goodness, you're gonna help me out with that one, right?
Arnaldus Klubaka?
Oh, very nice. You're really killing it with the Euro names today because I got nothing on that. So they lost Michael Carter-Williams. He signed a 1-year deal with the Rockets. Dwight Howard, again, with that trade with the Nets that happened before free agency. Timothy Mozgov, same thing. Before free agency, they lost him. And then they added Julian Stone in what was part of that double trade with the Bulls. And I would love to explain that trade, that double, like, 3-team trade, but we could literally do a whole podcast just on that. Like, it was complicated between covering every team and, oh, my goodness. Just know where
That
the
draft
players
day was
went.
confusing.
That was confusing. Honestly, it got a little mind numbing, if you will. Free agents, restricted free agent, Travion Graham and Marcus Page, unrestricted. And so under contract, we have Dwayne Bacon, Nicholas Batum, Willie Herman Gomez, Frank Kaminsky, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, Jeremy Lamb, again with the foreign name, come on.
Mango Martian?
Oh, beautiful. Malik Monk, Kemba Walker, Marvin Williams, and Cody Zeller. So that gives you an overview. They're not going to be a great team. Should be picking in the lottery again next year, especially in the East.
They have their pick, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they should be waiting it out and just pray and cross your fingers that bad money comes off the books sooner rather than later.
But I will say, I don't know if they're going to be picking in the lottery. I really don't.
Okay, why do you say that?
I don't think their roster's lottery bad in the East. Like,
I guess there's something to be said for that, sure.
I think when healthy in the Eastern Conference, this team could make the playoffs.
I think we're falling into the trap of thinking that these guys are just awful because they're on bad deals, but they're just average players on really bad contracts.
And in the East, I'm not going to say this team's a lottery team. I'm not.
Okay,
I think this team could very well fight for a playoff spot.
Okay.
But that's not to say they're a good team.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, exactly. Jordan is not going to pay the luxury tax for a team that's just not a great team.
Yeah, totally agree.
That's why he's... I mean, the contracts are not very tradable, a lot of them. Like,
No.
the team's not tradable. We spoke about it.
Yeah.
Like, but I think they're going to compete this year, as in maybe a playoff spot, not compete in a deep playoff run by any means.
Okay. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I just think it's... just considering what they've been doing in the past, it's hard for me to envision them being a playoff team at this point. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm not totally ruling it out. Sorry, I'll agree with you there. All right, on to the Chicago Bulls. So the Chicago Bulls, oh my goodness, I just lost my sheet. Oh no, I didn't. Chicago Bulls are under the cap by about $650,000.
And they just signed
right at the cap.
my
And
guy,
Jabari
the guy
Parker.
that I have always been huge on.
We will talk about the fit there in a second. Let's just finish the money off and then we'll go through there. $101.2 million in salary for the Bulls. Jabari Parker now the highest earner on the Bulls after just getting traded there a couple days ago at $20 million.
The best player on the team.
Yeah, that could be debated, but yeah, okay, maybe, yeah, fair enough. 15.8% of the cap there. They still have their full non-taxpayer mid-level along with a couple trade exceptions. And this is another team with minimal commitments that could make a splash in 2019. Good size market, can attract from some free agents. Garpax obviously willing to pay the tax for the right team. So this could be an attractive team, especially with the new addition of Jabari Parker. And I guess I'll let you take off from there. You really like the Jabari and his fit, I guess, right?
I love Jabari Parker. Always been a big Jabari Parker. When that guy's on the court, he is an impact player. I think
Offensively,
exactly. But I think at the end of the day, his impact offensively still makes up for his liability on defense.
Sure.
Majority of the time.
When he's healthy.
Yes. Majority of the time.
Yes, I agree. And
I think this is a great contract because
me too.
It's a chance for Parker to show, okay, when I'm healthy, I can make more than this. It's a short contract. It's 2 years. So he can, if he plays well and stays healthy, he can set himself up for a huge contract after. And for the Bulls, it's like, okay, if he's not healthy, it's only 2 more years, and you know what? Right now, I don't even know if we're that competitive anyway. So it could be, it's high potential. Like for both parties, it's a great deal. I'm huge on Jabari Parker, so I think when healthy, there's a chance he's going to get a bigger deal. Hopefully that's with the Bulls. Hopefully the Bulls taking a shot on him, and then Jabari Parker saying, okay, they took a shot on me, and he finds a way to stay healthy. He finds a way to show he's a great player. And we all know he's shown flashes of this. Offensively, he's a fantastic player. If he can stay healthy and be consistent, hopefully he can sign that huge long-term deal with the Bulls and be a great player for the future of the Bulls. Like, I love Jabari Parker, and I love the signing both ways.
For sure, and I totally agree with you. That contract that we were referring to, 2 years, $40 million, but actually a team option on the second year. So
yeah,
protects
exactly.
Protection for the Bulls.
Exactly.
Protection for the Bulls, and you know what? Still an opportunity for Jabari to make the money. Look, $20 million is life-changing money. If you get that for 1 year to say, okay, I got $20 million in the bank, I'm going to go out there and prove myself, and if the team wants to pick up me on that second option, perfect. And if he outplays that contract, there's an opportunity for a long-term deal in that 2019 market as well. So I think good for both sides. I really love it for both sides. I think both teams have an optimal amount of risk attached to both of them, and I think that both of them will benefit in the end.
Yeah, and another, for sure, but I know we got to remember, too, another thing. Jabari Parker is 23 years old.
Yes.
The guy was born in 1995.
We do forget that.
He is
young.
23 years old. So after 3 years, let's say he has 2 great years and Chicago wants to keep him around at $20 million. He'll be entering free agency with at that point, I'm going to potentially say increased, like a way for him to make a lot more than $20 million at age 26. He's entering his prime. So
100%.
This is a great contract.
And if we think about Jabari Parker, 2 ACL tears.
Exactly.
I mean, how much basketball has he really played? Like, I mean, like physical, like on court minutes. Like, I think there's still something to be said that reps can still help Jabari Parker at this point in his career. Just considering how little basketball he's played. I mean, 2 ACL tears and he was a one and done at Kentucky, I believe.
No, he was Duke, I believe. Duke.
At Duke, my apologies. So one and done at Duke, one year experience at Duke, and then 4 years at Milwaukee, 2 of which were rendered basically nothing in all honesty because of the injuries, and now he's going into what is technically his 5th season, but his 2nd basketball season in terms of actual on the court playing time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that there's still a lot of untapped potential for a player like that, and I love the deal for the Bulls personally.
For sure.
So they drafted Wendell Carter Jr. has looked great in summer league.
Yeah, again, you were a lot higher on him than I was.
Even I'm surprised at some of the stuff that he was doing there. Very happy with what I've seen.
That was kind of underwhelming pick, but hey, he's shown in summer league he can Summer League, obviously, but he's shown he can produce. He really has, yeah.
And there's a couple guys we were high on that have been doing well in Summer League, and we'll get to those.
Love Chandler Hutchison, too. I've always been a big player. Big fan of Chandler Hutchison.
A lot of athleticism there. I do like what I've seen from him from Summer League as well in the brief minutes I've seen him on the floor. So they lost Jerry and Grant. He got traded to the Magic. Lost Sean Kilpatrick. He was waived. Julian Stone was waived as well as Paul Zipser. Zip. Free agents, including Ryan Arcidiacono, Villanova product, I believe, right?
I'm not sure, to be honest with
you. I think he was in the national championship game. I think that's where I recognize him from. Restricted free agent, David Nwaba, restricted free agent.
I like David Nwaba.
You know what? They rescinded his qualifying offer,
I know.
Which was only about $1.4 million, which was absolutely nothing.
I know.
But you know why they did it is because they're looking to see if they can get Carmelo Anthony on a trade.
Yeah.
So they opened that space up for that just in case they needed it. So from the Bulls, sorry, what am I saying? From the Bulls side, that's pretty much where they went.
Yeah.
And then Noah Vonleh, also a restricted free agent. Under contract, Omer Asik, oh my goodness. Ugh. Antonio Blakeney, who always seems to just play so well in Summer League. He's just such a fringe player.
know.
You know what? Every time I see him, he's doing such great things.
Player.
He's
That's
such a fringe NBA player. Like, I feel like he
fringe.
could make an impact somewhere if the right team gave him a shot. But on the Bulls, and maybe the Bulls are the ones who give him a shot. Who knows? But Chris Dunn.
They do have a lot at the guard position.
Yes.
Not a lot, actually. They have Levine, they have Dunn.
Well, if they wanted to move on from a guy like Cameron Payne, I think that.
You know what? Yeah, they could. They could give him some minutes.
And I think at some point in the season they'll see him, whether they bring him on a two-way or if somebody gets injured, they call him up from their D-League team.
Yeah.
A couple options I think there could be possible. So Omer Asik, Antonio Blakeney, Chris Dunn, Cristiano Felicio, Justin Holiday, Zach LaVine, who re-signed to that, I think it was 4-year, $80 million offer sheet that was sent out by Sacramento, I believe. Robin Lopez, Larry Markkinen, Cameron Payne, Bobby Portis, and Denzel Valentine. So, again, another team with some players that can play, but no standout guy at this point. Obviously, you'd like to see if they can maybe land an all-star, a guy that will kind of put the pieces together and take some of the scoring load-off guys like, Zach LaVine and have Markkinen play more of the pick-and-pop role instead of putting the ball in his hands a little bit more. Again, Portis and Valentine still good value players in my opinion.
I like Portis. Never been huge on Valentine personally, but he's a solid player, I guess.
Yeah, out of Michigan, I'm not going to Michigan State. My apologies. I was a little bit higher on him than maybe I should have been, just considering what he's been in the NBA the past 4 years.
Portis was Arkansas. I know that.
Yeah, and we wanted him to take.
Markkinen was Arizona. I know that. Robin Lopez.
Well, yeah, Portis.
Stanford.
Portis was in that same draft as DeLon Wright, and we wanted them to take them instead of DeLon. At this point, actually, that's kind of interesting. I think either one of them would have been okay.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think the Raptors might have made the right decision, but I don't know. I think either way, you're good.
I think Bobby Portis would have been a good value replacement for Serge Ibaka at this point. In terms of value, in terms of being able to free up cash and go out get somebody else or something like that.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Our starting four at the time when we drafted DeLon was Louis Scola.
Yes,
so that's why Bobby Portis would have been a nice little selection.
100%. And I think, that's funny you mentioned that. And I think Scola only lasted 1 year in Toronto as well. Slow as can be. Anyway, so that's the roster for Chicago. Again, a team not necessarily looking to be good this year, in my opinion. Looking to get to 2019, see if they can land that free agent, get a year of this new core under their belt, and just kind of see where they can go from there.
Everybody in the East is like, you know what? They're not gonna be that good this year, but
I know. Yeah,
it's just like
it's true. We keep saying this. Other than Boston, I agree. Most of these teams have been saying that, but some of these teams are gonna win.
That's why I said Charlotte. Charlotte's probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, I know. And I think I'm starting to get that. Is some of these teams are gonna win.
Yeah.
It just has to happen, right? And maybe one of those teams is the Cleveland Cavaliers, which we will go to next. The Cleveland Cavaliers, sans LeBron James, are over the cap by about $10 million, but under the luxury tax by $11 million. And so this is where we can actually have a nice conversation about tax and luxury tax and what it means to an owner. So the luxury tax bill in itself as a 1 year bill is not usually a lot, no matter what your bill is. Like even OKC has a luxury tax bill of like $180 million, and they're willing to pay it, but they'd rather not, right? So that just gives you an idea. But the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Warriors are in the same. Warriors are in the same space where they are subject to what's called the repeater tax. And the repeater tax is essentially a rule where if you are in the luxury tax 3 out of the last 4 years, you're subject to what's called the repeater tax. And the way the repeater tax works is if you are $409,999 or less above the tax, you pay $2.5 for every dollar of salary that you spend.
Yeah.
So if you are between 5 and 9 million over the tax, you spend $2.75 for every dollar of salary that you pay. If you're between 10 and 14,99999, it's $3.50 for every dollar you spend. And if you're 15 to 19 million, 19.999 million over the tax, you are paying $4.25 for every dollar of salary. And if you're over 20 million over the tax and you're paying the repeater tax, you are paying $4.75 for every dollar of salary, plus an additional 50 cents on the dollar for every 5 million you're over. So you can see how that can get very expensive very quickly if you're in the luxury tax, or if you're in the repeater tax.
Yeah, for sure.
Having the salary of whatever 101 million, which is nothing, but then paying in some cases 4 times that just to keep it, just to pay the penalties that the league has set in the CBA. Now we're looking at almost like $400-500 million. Exactly. Now we start thinking, okay, we might need to avoid the tax this year, right? So that's one of the scenarios where the luxury tax kind of comes into play with Cleveland, because they are subject to the repeater tax this year because of what LeBron is going to make Dan Gilbert saying, hey, we're going to pay as much as we can for this roster. We're going to the championship every year, right?
Exactly. So Dan Gilbert said, "Now I got my team back."
Yeah, exactly. Team back. Yeah, a little bit, right? So they by no means will be paying the tax this year, just out of the sheer fear of the repeater tax. Kevin Love is the highest earner on this team right now at $24 million, which is 21.5% of the cap. They still have their full non-tax pyramid level. But again, probably a team that's probably not going to use it. They want to avoid the tax, so using that, might get them just on the fringe of it. But between trade exceptions and maybe some other guarantees and non-guarantees, they could toe that line a little bit quickly. So maybe they don't want to use that. And realistically, they could go after a 2019 free agent, but Cleveland without LeBron is not an attractive destination. Nobody really wants to play in Cleveland.
The roster's bad. Like this team is not. This team is. I'd say this team's worse than Charlotte. I would.
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean that's you can easily make an argument for that for sure. Again, and even with Dan Gilbert's willing to pay the luxury tax, I don't really think that's bringing any star player in their family over to a town like Cleveland with no talent, right? So as much as they want to compete in the summer of 2019 for free agents, I find that hard to believe. Just going through their roster here really quickly, added Colin Sexton with the number 8 pick. He's looked pretty good too.
I've always liked Sexton. Sexton was a very good pick.
Have you seen him at all in Summer League this far?
And he was one of those guys, the fit was there. Like as soon as the trade happened not as soon as the trade happened when they acquired the pick, but throughout pretty much since the beginning of the NCAA season and kind of seeing where that pick would end up, Colin Sexton always kind of seemed like the logical guy there, and it ended up happening.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, and a point guard is definitely some one of the kind of players you want to take at number 8. Those are the kind of franchise type players that, really take you through into the playoffs and things of that nature. So they lost Jose Calderon. They signed with the Pistons again.
How
1 year.
Is he still obviously love Jose, but
that
guy he works the exact same in practice every single day, whether he's gonna play, whether he's not gonna play, like whether a win or a loss, all his meals taste the same.
Yeah.
The guy is the ultimate team player.
For sure.
Still getting contracts.
Yeah, you know what? You know what he reminds me of a lot of is Pablo Prigioni. Pablo Prigioni was a guy where I didn't understand, why is this guy in the league? And then you watch him, he just right play. Nothing ordinary, nothing extraordinary, nothing.
For sure.
Not taking over any games, but he's just making the right play and he's not hurting your team. I think that's Jose Calderon falls into the same.
Calderon is also just off the court too. It's with the stuff he does off the court.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely, I would agree with you there. Lost Jose Calderon, LeBron James with the Lakers, obviously, and Jeff Green, who signed with the Wizards.
Good signing.
Yep, agreed. And we'll talk about LeBron probably in another podcast. We could do a whole podcast just on that signing itself. Rodney Hood, restricted free agent. Kendrick Perkins, unrestricted free agent. If he comes back and sits another year on the bench, I don't know what to do. I'll play minutes before Kendrick Perkins. Play minutes, I promise you, and I'll work hard too. And then London Parantes, I think, is another guy. I think he's a two-way guy. Again, an unrestricted free agent as well. So here's who's under contract coming back from Cleveland with no LeBron James: Jordan Clarkson, George Hill, John Holland, Kyle Korver, Kevin Love, Larry Nance, Chetty Osman, J.R. Smith, Tristan Thompson, Okara White, and Ante Zizic.
That is just terrible.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? I was about to say, a lot of these players maybe on the surface look okay, but when you don't have a glue guy like LeBron James to, keep everything together, be the team leader,
Yeah.
and then you're adding another point guard like Colin Sexton, who's going to need his touches and kind of learn the game himself. This doesn't look like a very attractive roster going into next year.
Not at all. I don't know. This team is, I guess, similar position as Charlotte. Maybe they're gonna battle for a playoff spot because they're in the East, but I don't even know. Like, they're bad. Like, I don't think they're gonna. They're a bad team. I'd say Charlotte's a better team than them. I don't know why I keep comparing them to Charlotte, but
it's because we talked about this so much. Okay. So nothing else on Cleveland. They lost LeBron. Not going to be good. Tough to get a free agent.
Sorry, Cleveland.
Yeah, we really do. Hey, you had your run, and you got a chip.
Yeah.
You know what? That's,
you know what? Not sorry, Cleveland.
Yeah,
you got it.
Not at all, because that's more than we can say as us Raptor fans, right? So I wouldn't be complaining if I were you. Anyway, moving on to the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons, again, are over the cap, $19.7 million, but under the tax by $2.1 million. Again, another team, $2.1 million under the tax.
Mm-hmm.
They're not paying it. You know, there's a reason for that. $21.15 million in salary. They have their full non-tax pyramid level with a couple other exceptions as well. Blake Griffin, currently their highest earned player at $31.8 million, taking up 26.3% of the cap. And I don't see this team personally as a summer 2019 contender. They don't really have anything attractive that I would go to personally. If I'm just taking a look at their roster.
Well, if I'm a guard and I got Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, I wouldn't be opposed.
Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson's a guy who's I guess kind of tough to play with. If we're being real, he needs the ball. He thinks he's an ISO Kyrie Irving type scorer. And he's not. Like, let's face it. Sorry, Reggie Jackson, you're not. But still a guy who can do some things with the ball in his hands. I don't want to discredit him completely, but an upgrade at that position could definitely be warranted in 2019 summer if they really wanted to. So,
but I don't think this team is terrible by any means.
No, not necessarily.
I think we'll see what Dwayne Casey can do with them, I guess.
Yeah, that's another thing to take into account as well.
Blake Griffin and Andre, you know what? They're not great, no doubt about it, but
we're in the East. Somebody's got to win.
It's the land of the East.
Somebody's got to win. So I think this team definitely could compete for a playoff spot. I wouldn't rule that out by any means. So this team added Jose Calderon. We just talked about that as well.
Didn't have a first round pick though for Blake, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, fair enough.
Correct. It was for Blake, I believe.
They sent it out to the Clippers, who selected Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jerome Robinson. One of those two. I don't know which one was their pick, but either or. So they added Jose Calderon, added Glenn Robinson III. They also drafted Kyrie Thomas, and a guy that I liked as well as Bruce Brown. Both of those guys actually caught a glimpse of the summer league.
Yeah, good value.
Good value guys in the second round there. I agree.
4 picks apart. Yeah.
Yep. Lost Dwight Bikes, Eric Moreland, Anthony Tolliver. Again,
Tolliver's a solid player.
Tolliver's a solid player. Other than that, I don't think
went to
anything
Minnesota,
there. Yeah. Agreed. James Ennis, unrestricted free agent there. Kay Felder, another unrestricted free agent. He's in Detroit now. I forgot about that. Reggie Hearn, a restricted free agent, and then Jameer Nelson, an unrestricted free agent. We'll see if they bring him back. But I think there's, I guess not really. I was going to say maybe there's some backup point guard minutes available, but with Ish Smith, they probably have to take up those backup point guard minutes.
Reggie Bullock, solid player. I like Reggie Bullock.
He really proved his value last year.
Yeah, he can do some things.
Yeah.
Stanley Johnson, I still believe in. I think
too.
he can do some things, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Luke Kennard, I'm not huge on, but John Lore, I'm good player.
Yeah,
good player.
Just sad to hear about the sickness, so that you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think a disabled player exception is coming
Yeah.
for Detroit because of that. But I agree. I thought he was a solid player at the very least as well. Reggie Jackson, Blake Griffin, Langston Galloway, Henry Ellenson, Reggie Bullock round out the roster there as well. So again, somebody's got to win in the East, and I don't think this Detroit team is necessarily like prime for a huge playoff run. But I think they could win a playoff series. I don't think that's unfathomable to me, in all honesty. So we'll kind of see depending on how things shake up there. Obviously, we want to see the dynamic a little bit more between Griffin and Drummond and Reggie Jackson. All those three guys together, I think, will really determine how far this Pistons team is going to go. Did you find anything about the sickness for John Lure or injury? I can't remember which one it was.
I think it might have been an ankle injury because I didn't hear. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about.
Really? Okay. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. Then my apologies on that. Maybe it is just the ankle injury. Okay. Well, we'll figure that out after. Okay, moving on. Indiana Pacers. Indiana Pacers are, surprise, surprise, over the cap but under the tax. They are $3.5 million over the cap, but about $18 million under the tax, so have a lot of room to maneuver there. $105.4 million in salary. Victor Oladipo, currently the highest earner at $21 million. That's 20% of the cap. Obviously not a bad guy to have as your star player.
No, can I ask you a question about Victor Oladipo before I forget it? Just a quick question. You don't have to think deeply into it.
Yeah.
Where would you rank him in the East amongst players?
Like right now?
Yeah, because there's not too many guys better than Victor Oladipo, if you ask me.
I think I tweeted. That there's a good chance that Tim Hardaway Jr. could become an All-Star, especially with no Porzingis. Especially with no Porzingis.
You never know.
So if he's going to be an All-Star, then that just I guess kind of answers your question about how high Victor Oladipo is up on this list.
I don't think he's going to be an All-Star. Tim Hardaway is going to be an All-Star, but you never know. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I was a little facetious there, but you know what I mean. But I mean, I think he's top 3. I mean, I don't know who you're putting above him. Like I mean, I don't think Gordon Hayward is better than him.
No.
I mean, Kyrie Irving. Okay, Giannis.
Yeah.
Maybe Porzingis.
No.
You don't even think Porzingis? You know what? I'm not even mad about it. DeMar maybe. I'm not even sure about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oladipo plays defense and good defense.
That's what I mean. Who's better than him in the East? Not too many guys.
I think
John Wall.
No, I think Oladipo's better than John Wall.
Yeah. There's
Oladipo doesn't turn the ball over.
No, exactly. I'm trying to go through the list of players in my head right now.
Bradley Beal. I think Oladipo's better than Bradley Beal.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, top 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Top 3 or 4. Top 3 or 4. I mean, whether you think Porzingis is better than him, I think is probably the only question. But other than Giannis and I mean Kyrie Irving,
I think Kyrie is.
I think he's just a better scorer, and I think I don't think he's bad defensively as people make him seem to be. So between those two, and I guess Porzingis, that's your only other arguments. But top 4 at the minimum. At the minimum, top 4, and we're gonna see him being an All-Star starter next year. You put your money on that.
Okay, so we're gonna done. That's I just wanted a quick question where you thought he ranked because
Perfect.
I was thinking the same thing. I don't know. We'll see where you're.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Victor, and this guy is a hard worker,
Oh,
hard in the paint.
He always trying to get better.
You should see right after he lost in the playoffs, he hit up his trainer Michael Lancaster with Impossible Training, who does a lot of like unorthodox tennis ball drills.
His name wrong.
Yeah.
He spelled Oladipo's name wrong in his contact.
Yeah, you're right.
Olapido.
Yeah.
Victor Olapido.
I can't believe you remember that. That's funny. But he texted him right after. He's like, let's get this working. He's like, well, we're taking it to another level this year. Another level?
Yeah.
Like that. Like we're talking like first team All NBA talent if we're gonna go any further now. Like,
And didn't he get signed R&B wise?
Oh well, I'm not. I would hope so. Yo, he's an amazing singer. Like I'm sure Meek's trying to get him on a track like very soon. Like he's a great R&B singer. We saw that at the All-Star the All-Star ceremonies. He gave you a little taste. But if you go on YouTube and look up some of his songs, they're very good. Very good. I'm impressed. Okay. Enough with Victor Oladipo skills. We can go on for days. So he is the highest earner. No exceptions left. They used their exception on Kyle O'Quinn. And this team could have as much as $60 million in cap space next summer. And also, I should give a quick shout out. Sporttrack.com. Great site to find out all the little nitbits and where I found all these numbers in terms of money and stuff like that. Big shout out to that site. That helped me out a lot to getting this content. But they had, according to Sporttrack, as much as $60 million in cap space next summer. So they are a contender next year. They got Victor Oladipo. They got a team that can really compete in the East, just considering some of their pieces. A couple of young guys in Domantas Sabonis, who we really like a lot, as well as a couple.
Bojan Bogdanovic.
Yeah, Bojan Bogdanovic is another great player. Aaron Holiday has looked great in summer league as well.
Of course.
We got Tyreek Evans that they've brought back, as well as Doug McDermott with some shooting. So this team is this, and Miles Turner. I can't believe we didn't mention him. So this team. Like if we got another All-Star player, this is a top 4 team in the East. With or like even higher possibly. So I'm big on what the Indiana Pacers could be. This
they're
season.
going to be one of the best teams in the East for sure.
Yep,
no,
I would agree. So let's go through the roster quickly. Added Tyreek Evans in free agency, and again. If I hate to keep going back to the West, but if you're the Memphis Grizzlies, you cheaped out trying to get that first-round pick for Tyreek Evans next year from the Suns instead of getting those 2 seconds.
For sure.
And now look, you lost him for nothing. So again, bad decision making there, in my opinion, on the part of Memphis. In last year's trade deadline. Doug McDermott came over from free agency, as well as Kyle O'Quinn. Aaron Holiday, a guy who's looked pretty good in summer league. We were both high on him.
Great. He was a great pick, and he's looked good in summer league. He's going to do some things as well for India. That's just another piece.
Yep. He matched up really well against Trae Young. Really gave him some tough times. That 6'7" wingspan really showing its value there in summer league as well. Alizier Johnson as well with a number 50 pick is on this team as well. So they lost Al Jefferson. He was waived. Glenn Robinson III signed with the Pistons, and Lance signed with the Lakers.
Awesome signing.
Yep, love that. So free agents for them: Trevor Booker's unrestricted, Ben Moore
Surprised
unrestricted.
he hasn't been signed yet, Trevor Booker.
Yeah, I really like what he can do. Maybe another guy looking for maybe a little bit more money than the market kind of dictates at this point, so that could be a possibility there. Edmund Summer restricted free agent, and then Joe Young unrestricted. Another one of those fringe guys. I really like Joe Young. I think he's just kind of on the cusp there, just not good enough to take over a spot from a guy at this point. You know, it's so tough to see there. But so under contract, is this? This is not Ike Ibreu, right? The other Ike. This is a different Ike, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I can't pronounce his last name, but it does start with an A. Ingabobu, I think is his name. I'm not sure exactly. My apologies. Ike. You'd kill me in 1-1, I know. Bojan Bogdanovic, Darren Collison, Corey Joseph, who opted into his deal, TJ Leaf, Victor Oladipo, Alex Porithis? I butchered that. My apologies. Domantas Sabonis, Miles Turner, and Thaddeus Young, who also opted in. So again, some great pieces. Thaddeus Young, Sabonis, Turner, Oladipo, and now Aaron Holiday. Not a bad little young core there for a starting lineup, and they got some nice depth pieces in Corey Joseph, and
Bogdanovic, Joseph, Collison. Like, you got some pieces.
Yep. So this team is going to be a playoff team.
I guess you could do some things. But I don't really like him all that much.
Yeah, well, he's just a rookie. I mean, didn't really show much last year, but it's to be seen. We'll see.
He's not a rookie anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. Very true. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, Indiana to me is a playoff team this year, and I think very primed to go out and do something next year as well. So like the position Indiana's in. Anything else you wanted to add for them?
No, they're going to be probably 4th in the conference by my prediction. But you never know. We'll see what happens. I like Indiana a lot. But moving on, you want to do Miami next, I assume?
Yeah, let's...
Probably the quietest offseason of any team in recent history.
So they lost nobody, added nobody.
Drafted nobody.
So, it's very quiet. Let's go through the money, though, because this is a little bit different. So finally, the Heat are over the cap and over the tax. So an anomaly in the Eastern Conference. So the Heat are over the cap by $26 million, are also over the tax by $4.4 million. So their luxury tax bill for being over the tax by $4.4 million and not being a repeater tax team is only about $6.7 million. So that's coming out of Pat Riley's pocket for lunch. Yeah. So you know what I mean? So that's not really too much of a tax bill to stomach. $128 million in taxable salary for the Miami Heat. Their highest earner is Hassan Whiteside, making $25.4 million, 19.8% of the cap. Not looking like a great contract at this point. They have their tax pyramid level. Again, probably not going to use it since they're already in the tax. Unless they think that they can be a really good team this year, which is definitely possible. They have some trade exceptions as well. So Hassan Whiteside has a $27 million player option next year.
He's going to take it.
I think he's going to opt into that if I had to guess. And Tyler Johnson, although a player I did like, but was a victim of getting too much money from that 2016 contract. So he is making $20 million this year. Between those two guys next summer, that's $47 million.
Olynyk's a pretty big contract too.
Yeah, but Olynyk's a contributor though. At least I know what I'm getting from him as a backup center and a starting center sometimes when Hassan is not playing well or they want to go small. So. I like that. I don't like that as well. Is the fact that $47 million committed to two guys who aren't the greatest players at this point. So not much in 2019 flexibility for them, despite the fact that Miami's a nice market that they can bring guys to. So, so quite interesting there for this team. Going to their roster very quickly. Same guys they're bringing back. The only kind of, I guess, the main guy we should kind of just touch on is Dwayne Wade. Is Dwayne Wade going to come back? You think?
No.
You think he's done? Do you think he's retiring?
Yeah.
That's sad to hear. I like to think he had one more year in him, in a weak Eastern Conference to come back and just see what he can contribute to get into this team as far as he can.
Yeah,
that's probably my prediction that this year will be his last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, sad to see what I consider the third best shooting guard of all time coming to the end of his.
But is he gonna finish in Miami? You think? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
You don't think he'd give it another crack with LeBron?
Nah, I think that whole banana boat thing is past its prime at this point. So. Yeah. We'll see. I think he's coming back for one more year, which will be the last year in Miami. I had to predict. I think that's what he's got. So unrestricted free agents: Luke Babbitt, Udonis Haslem, and a team option on Jordan Mickey, which I'm sure they're going to decline considering their tax situation. So under contract at this point, Bam Adebayo. Okay, Bam Adebayo ran a pick and roll in summer league, like not as the roll man, as that ball handler.
Yeah.
I saw that. I fell off the couch. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that. Bam Adebayo ran a pick and roll.
Not as a ball handler, but Bam has potential.
But I just thought that was ridiculous. Like, you like to see some guys show what they can do in summer league and stuff like that. But, I thought maybe he's going to play more pick and pop and stuff, not running pick and rolls. Like, it's ridiculous. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. Bam Adebayo, Goran Dragic, Wayne Ellington, who's come back.
Wayne Ellington's solid player.
He actually set the record for the most threes off the bench of all time. Over 200 threes.
Wow.
Very good value player, I think, for Miami at this point.
James Johnson,
great player. Tyler Johnson, not a great player on his contract. At least I do like him, just not at that money. Derek Jones Jr., who's coming back.
Always been a big fan. I've always been big on
Showed
Derek
some nice
Jones
things
Jr.
in summer league too. Super athletic, as we saw in the dunk contest there. Rodney McGruder coming back. Kelly Olynyk, Josh Richardson, who's an excellent player, one of the better defensive guards in the NBA at this point. Dion Waiters, another guy I'm a big fan of when he's obviously on and playing well. Hassan Whiteside, and then Justice Winslow. So
I think this team will make the playoffs.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think 7-6 seed, depending on kind of how things work out. I mean, we'll see what kind of player Hassan Whiteside is this year. If we're gonna get playoff Hassan Whiteside, or earlier Hassan Whiteside, where he was affecting everything at the rim, not so much anymore. But yeah, I think this team could make the playoffs very well. I think they will be in it if I had to guess. And yeah, obviously the money is unfortunate. I'm a victim of a couple of those bad 2016 contracts, but other than that, I think they'll be fine in the long run. Just considering they're going to be able to get in the playoffs, keep the Miami crowd at least kind of engaged, and not be just flop outs every year. So from that perspective, I think they just kind of need to wait it out and go from there.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, let's keep it moving. Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are over the cap by $114 million, but under the tax by $7.7 million. $116 million in salary. Giannis earning the most at $24.1 million, about 20.8% of the cap. They've already used most of their non-taxpayer mid-level on Ersan Ilyasova plus a trade exception. Also, you can use these exceptions, the room exception, non-taxpayer mid-level, and taxpayer mid-level, on multiple players. You don't have to use it all in one player, so you can actually spread that out amongst a couple players. That's just a little nuance there. Could be a candidate for 2019 if Bud starts to bring this team together and a real culture starts to develop. Maybe a star can kind of look at this place with Giannis and say, okay, maybe we have a shot to go into the Eastern Conference Finals with how weak the East is. So I think this team is in a good position right now.
Usually small market, but Milwaukee is definitely a destination people will want to go to. There's no doubt with Antetokounmpo there, it's not a question.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't make too many moves this offseason. Drafted Dante DiVincenzo. I haven't seen him play at all. I don't know if he's injured or I just haven't seen him. Again, we had some skepticism about him coming out of Villanova. Jabari Parker signed with the Bulls. We just talked about him. Free agents, Shabazz Muhammad, unrestricted. Xavier Mumford, restricted free agent. Marshall Plumlee, restricted free agent. And Jason Terry, unrestricted. I don't really see too many of those guys coming back. Maybe Marshall Plumlee comes back if for the right deal. That's about it. That's all I can really see.
Not a great offseason for Milwaukee, though.
No.
But I think next year there could be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. And just taking a look at their roster here, Giannis, Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon, Sterling Brown, who proved a lot. He proved like he could be a value player. Matthew Dellavedova, John Henson, Brendan Jennings, Thon Maker, Chris Middleton, Tony Snell, DJ Wilson, and Tyler Zeller. This team is going to be a playoff team, 100%. This is a good team. This is a good team. Chris Middleton, I like what he can do, although I still don't think he's better than DeMar DeRozan. His name will always be attached to that from when I saw the SI rankings. I'm sorry. Thon Maker, I'm still big on Thon Maker. I really am. He's still big. Boy. He's still big. He's still long. Yep. He still blocks shots. He's still got untapped potential.
Kicks guys in the head.
Yeah, he still kicked out. Yeah, the flying knees. You saw that. Oh my goodness. I got scared.
Philippines?
Yeah, or something like that.
Australia versus
he just started
Philippines?
throwing flying knees. I couldn't believe it, dude. The one time it actually got near the guy's ear, I'm like, he would knock me out with a flying knee. I'm 5'8", he's 7 foot. He would knock me out. I'm done. I'm out. Concussion. Take me to the protocol. You know it. But yeah, this team's going to be great this year. Prime good position in terms of money wise, and they're going to be a playoff team. And if they can show some good things this year, I think this is a big year for this team. I think if they're able to show that they can win, show that a culture's coming together with Mike Budenholzer as the coach there, and another big year from Giannis, and this could be a prime destination for a player that's looking to win. Maybe not a player that's looking for the fanciest lifestyle and all that stuff, but if you want to win a championship, you're trying to go to a finals. This is the team you're going to join if you're a player like that, in my opinion. Cool. Anything else you want to add on them?
No, I think they got worse this offseason, but I think there's a lot going forward for them. I think they're definitely a playoff team. They're looking good going forward.
Agreed. Okay, New York Knicks. Highest earner at the moment is Enes Kanter. He has $18.6 million, 7% of the cap. Normally I wouldn't talk about the second highest guy, but the second highest guy is Joakim Noah, making 18.5% of million dollars, 17% of the cap. Between those two, between those two guys, that's just a tough situation to be in. You're dying to get off that money if you're the Knicks to try and see if you can open up some space for next year, but that's a little bit tough for them. So the Knicks are over the cap, $7.2 million, but are under the tax by $14 million, so they have a little bit of flexibility. $109 million in salary, and have used most of their non-tax pyramid level on Mario Hezonja from the Magic. Again, a guy I was a fan of out of the draft, hasn't really shown too much, but maybe the Knicks can get something out of him with
definitely.
With
very
an
cocky,
role.
very cocky player.
What did we see? He did a windmill dunk with like 4 seconds left, up 10, like or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness! Like, I thought that was hilarious. Could have as much, thanks to Sport Track, as much as $40 million in cap space next year. I think that's before the Porzingis extension, which we're expecting to kind of see next year. Yeah, so 2019 is an option for them. Again, New York market, they're gonna pay a tax if they get the right team, and this team is dying to win, so they'll give over market contracts to just about anybody.
For sure,
we've seen it in the past, i.e. Joakim Noah.
Yep.
So this team could definitely be a player in the summer of 2019 to get an All-Star. So the New York Knicks added Mario Hezonja, as we mentioned, and drafted Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about Mitchell
Kevin
Robinson.
Knox has been great, too.
And Kevin Knox, good
They've
point.
been both been really good in summer
Good
league,
point.
yeah.
You know what? I wasn't as big on Kevin Knox. I think I quote unquote called it a bit of an empty pick. But he's
Kevin
been
Knox
great.
to
He's
you
been
was
great.
what Wendell Carter was to me.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
fair enough.
Just kind of like, I don't know. At
Just
that
something
spot,
was
I don't
missing
know.
there, yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, Kevin Knox has been great. He's knocking down the threes. He's doing stuff off the dribble. And I know it's just summer league. We can't put too much stock in it, but always like to see that. And Mitchell Robinson, just the sheer athleticism
That's what
and
I
ability
mean.
to move his feet.
We didn't know much about him because he didn't do much. Like, he didn't play. Like, he was
Yeah.
ineligible, ruled ineligible, just didn't play this season. But the big athleticism, the length, always, that's all we knew, all I knew anyway.
Yeah.
And it's showing that he could have been a first-round talent if he played the whole season.
Oh, 100%. And I saw one specific play where he hedged on the pick and roll on the left wing, and then they threw it in. They used the pick and roll into the middle, and then the roll man made a decision, and he sprinted from the left wing all the way to the right corner
Yeah.
and blocked the
Shot,
three-pointer.
yeah.
You saw that play,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about. Like, that just showed me, like, that's incredible. Like, not only instincts, but body control, not to foul and the
Yeah.
block, to be able to get and control and incredible. Really love what I'm seeing from Mitchell Robinson. Really makes this Knicks offseason feel a little bit more full.
Yeah.
Seeing those two guys come into the fold like that. So that's awesome to see. Love to hear. Love to actually talk about some good news when it comes to the Knicks. That's always great.
Yeah.
So they lost Kyle O'Quinn. They signed with the Pacers.
Good
So
signing for the Pacers.
Yep.
Nice little
Agreed.
another big up there.
Agreed. Yep.
A competitor who wants to win
Yep.
too.
A
Good
guy-
room guy. Yeah.
Yep. Room mid-level exception is what they use to sign him. My goodness, that's a tongue twister. Michael Beasley as a restricted free agent, unrestricted. Isaiah Hicks is a restricted free agent. Jared Jack also unrestricted. Going up and down their roster here, Ron Baker, who opted in. We got Trey Burke, Damian Dotson, future All-Star Tim Hardaway Jr., Ennis Cantor, Luke Cornett, Courtney Lee, Emmanuel Mudiay, Joakim Noah, Frank Ntilikina, Kristaps Porzingis, Lance Thomas, and Troy Williams.
Yeah, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah,
but you never know. Like,
well, just because Porzingis isn't going to come back till January. That's the only reason I'll
even
say
if he
that.
was here in October, they're not making the playoffs.
Really?
But
Okay, fair
no
enough.
way.
So what do you think about the future for this team? They do have some.
I think they have some
2019
pieces going
space.
forward. Let's
Yeah.
say Knox is a solid player. Let's say Porzingis. We know Porzingis,
Yeah.
but let's say Mitch Robinson comes in, starts to do some things.
Yeah.
New York market, you can land a guy to go with those guys,
Yeah.
and hey, you never know what could happen with the Knicks. The future is
I
not
agree.
shining bright like a.
Yeah.
It's not shining bright,
But it's not a pitch black cave either.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, fair enough. And I think the jury's still out on Ntilikina. I think he could be a very solid defensive
could be
defensive
like
point
Chris
guard.
Dunn.
Yeah, exactly. yeah, Chris Dunn. Well, maybe Chris Dunn when Chris Dunn reaches his potential, hopefully. But
Yeah.
yeah, and from the next perspective, just wrapping up is just not as negative as we're used to hearing it, which is always good to hear.
Yeah.
So we'll end it on that positive note. The Orlando Magic are over the cap by $9 million, but under the tax by $12.8 million. They have $110.9 million in salary. Their highest earner is Aaron Gordon at $21.6 million. He just got that new deal with them. That's 19.5% of their cap. They have most of their non-tax pyramid level left, and they are a 2019 summer contender with some money coming off the books. And considering this franchise has been like the 6th year of their rebuild since the Dwight Howard trade, they're going to spend some money. I gotta believe they're going to spend some money. Has it? 6 years that I can remember.
Yeah.
So this team has been a bad position from a roster standpoint from a long time. They do have flexibility. They're only over the cap by $9 million. They do have tax pyramid level, other things they can use, but I don't think this team wants to be good again this year. I can't.
No,
imagine,
yeah, I agree. They're not. They're not going to compete. Like, okay, they might compete, but they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah,
I do not think this team.
They're not competing on purpose. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So going through their roster here, they've added Jerry and Grant on the trade with the Bulls there. Timofey Mozgov is also on this roster. This is a crazy influx of centers. We're going to see in a second. I guess Bismack's not there anymore, so that's not as bad. Okay. So they have so Mo Bamba. Mo Bamba, who's looked okay. Nothing about what I expected from him in summer league at this point. Melvin Fraser, who has been okay. Actually, I wasn't a huge fan of him. I think I would have rather seen Kyrie Thomas or one of those other guys go to Orlando. But I've been okay with what I've seen from him so far in summer league. Justin Jackson with the number 43 pick. They lost Bismack Biyombo, as we mentioned, lost Mariano Hezonja, and they waived Shelvin Mack. So this team has Aaron Aflalo as an unrestricted free agent, Jamel Artis as an unrestricted free agent, and Maurice Spates, who's unrestricted, but he actually signed in Europe, so he won't be coming back either. So under contract now, this is a tough team to read right here. Okay, DJ Augustine, Kaheem Birch, Aaron Gordon, Evan Fournier, Jonathan Isaac, Wes Iwindu, Rodney Purvis, Terrence Ross, Jonathan Simmons, Nikola Vucevic. This team's not making the playoffs.
Oh, no. I don't think anyone's arguing that.
I don't think this team is making the playoffs. We'll see what Eric Gordon is. I think the big thing between Aaron Gordon and Mo Bamba, I would like to see what these guys kind of get develop into. I like to see how they play off each other. Aaron Gordon perceivably going to have the ball in his hands a lot more. Really expected to be that guy to put the ball in the bucket for Orlando this year, and then we'll see what we get out of Mo Bamba, but not really too much high hopes for this team. Just kind of interested to see how Aaron Gordon plays out after he gets his money and how Mo Bamba fares in his first year with the Magic.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's not a lot. Yeah, we're going to see what Mo Bamba does, and I think that's the excitement there.
Yeah. I agree. All right, we're getting close to the end here, finally. So, Philadelphia or at least in the Eastern Conference. We're not doing the West today, don't worry. 76ers are over the cap by $4 million, under the tax by $18 million. They have $105.8 million in salary. The highest earner is Joel Embiid at $25.2 million. He's taken up 23.8% of the cap. They have their full room exception still, and they are a definite summer 2019 contender with their money coming off the books in terms of J.J. Redick, Wilson Chandler. Those are some of the guys I can just think off the top of my head. I know there's a couple more there. But yeah, this is a team that's making the playoffs. Okay, this is a team that could, I think third in the East. Third in the East, exactly. Thank you. That's what I thought too. Third in the East.
Indiana 4.
Yeah, exactly.
Boston 1, Toronto 2.
Yes, fair enough. J.J. Redick, T.J. McConnell has 1 year left on his deal. Rashad Holmes, again, another just year left on his deal. And Jared Bayless, 1 year left. So a lot of Amir Johnson, another one. A lot of these guys are coming off the books. So 2019 is going to be a big hole for them. And with, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Robert Covington, even if you can bring back J.J. Redick, Markelle Fultz, if we can get anything out of him.
Yeah. Dario Saric,
that's a nice core. You can already see why LeBron wants to play, wanted at least, or considered playing with that team because of how great they are. So let's go through the roster really quick. 76ers, Wilson Chandler acquired via trade again in that cap dump there from the Nuggets. Zaire Smith, they got drafted. We mentioned him already. Landry Shamet, we talked about, and Shake Milton. So yeah, they got some good players there. Actually,
it's a good team.
Yeah, I kind of underestimated this team a little bit. Okay, so that's good. They didn't lose anybody. No. Their unrestricted free agents include Marco Bellinelli, Ersan Ilyasova, who's already signed.
Yeah, so lost him.
Yeah, so Demetrius Jackson and Amir Johnson. Actually, Amir Johnson signed somewhere too. I can't remember here.
Signed.
Oh yeah, is he unsigned still?
He might have signed somewhere. I'll have to double check that. Oh yeah, re-signed with 76ers.
Oh yeah, so he's coming back. Okay, yeah, so I was right. Okay, so he's coming back for 1 year. So under contract as well, Justin Anderson, Jared Bayless, Robert Covington, Joel Embiid, Markelle Fultz, Rashawn Holmes, Furkan Korkmaz, Timothy Luau Cabarro, T.J. McConnell, J.J. Redick, Dario Saric, Ben Simmons. This is an awesome roster. This team's going to make the playoffs. This team has flexibility going forward. The process is complete.
Oh, yeah. Well, not complete.
Well, I mean, complete once we get that one more guy. Once we get them in the fold.
Then the process is complete.
Yes, agreed. But this is a great position for Philly. And again, third in the East. Agree there? Yeah, I think that's about right as well. Alrighty, 2 more teams.
Another boring offseason.
Yeah, boring offseasons, but great because we love to talk about this team. Okay, so the Toronto Raptors, again, one of those teams, rare teams that are over the cap and over the tax. The Raptors are over the cap by $34 million, and over the tax by about $12 million.
But their ownership has tons of money. So
MLSE is rich out the yin yang.
And they have Canadian market. They
Yes.
have an entire market. Entire country is a market. So.
Totally, yeah. So it's much easier for them to make money, and considering they'll be in the playoffs, it'll be a lot easier for them to pay their luxury tax bill, which is looking like it's going to be about $23 million in luxury tax payments. Again, not going to hurt you if you're LSE. Total salary of $136 million for the Raptors. Highest earner at the moment is Kyle Lowry at $31 million, 22.7% of the cap. They have their full tax pyramid level available, which actually could be useful down the stretch. If
Yep.
a buyout the buyout market could be something there. One of the guys gets injured, there could be a nice veteran that they could take on for $8.6 million or whatever the tax pyramid level is, or non-tax pyramid level is. So that's an interesting spot for Toronto to see if they're going to use that or not. We'll see how tax averse MLSE is, but we'll go from there. And they can do something in 2019, but just not much because of the timelines of the DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry contracts.
Exactly.
There's another year on both of those at $31 and $27 million respectively, so they're kind of capped out there in my opinion. So they, again, didn't add anyone, didn't draft anyone, didn't lose anyone.
Yeah.
So Lorenzo Brown is
But
unrestricted.
coaching change. That's the big one.
Coaching change, yes. What do you think of Nick Nurse? Well, a lot of these teams have coaching changes, but easier for us to talk about because we're Raptor fans. So,
well, I'm talking like that was the only main change in these offseason.
Yeah,
they
fair
didn't
enough.
make any really player personnel changes, so their only change was coaching.
good point. What do you think of Nick Nurse as the new coach here?
We'll see what happens. He's always
do you
done
think
well.
Do you think it's justified that now that LeBron was gone, maybe it was better to keep Casey for one more year?
No,
I think
don't
that's the
know.
big
I
question
think-
at this point.
If you ask me, ultimately yes. But like, hindsight, like it's hard to tell. Like
Yeah.
we didn't expect all these pieces to fall the way they did necessarily. So like, I'm not gonna say the Raptors really screwed this one up because
No, me
they
either.
didn't necessarily. But we don't know. They could have. But I think Nick Nurse has shown he can be a good coach, and I think maybe a culture change is what they needed after this many consistent playoff chokes. So hey, let's give it a shot. It would have, but it's weird to think a culture change would still go with a guy from within. Usually, when you want a culture change, you bring someone from outside the organization.
Yep,
So
good point.
that's where we'll see what's happening.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be like a long leash for Nurse per se. He's obviously not going to get fired in his first year.
No.
Probably
Second
not
year
his
deal.
second year. He could get fired in his second year if it's bad enough. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to get to there by
No.
any means. But all I'm saying is the leash is. I'm not saying his seat is hot to start, but he's just taking over Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raptors, the reason they fired Casey is because of playoff failures. So his seat is hot in the sense where, hey, this year, this team's got to A, produce in the season, B, produce in the playoffs. Like, I have no choice. This is my first year as a head coach, but I
Facts.
have to do that.
100%.
So it's still a hot seat for him. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, I would agree. And I know there was some rumblings in some reports that some of the offensive suggestions fell on what's quote unquote deaf ears from Casey. So I don't know if there's any merit to that per se, but I mean we'll see. It seems like just off the first glance, it seems like Nick Nurse is much more of a tougher coach. This is much more of a coach's coach as opposed to a player's coach that Casey was.
Yeah.
It seems to me like he's holding his stars accountable, and he already mentioned in an interview that. Look, when Kyle and DeMar are at their peaks, like that's great. But when they're not at their peaks, we can't have them be bad. We need them to be average.
Yeah.
And I think that was a great statement. And that goes defensively as well. And I think that what Nick Nurse talked about with DeMar DeRozan is like, hey, look, in the regular season, we might throw you on the best offensive player, not because we think it's a good strategy, but we need to prepare you for the playoffs.
Exactly,
We need to hold you accountable. We need to see that you're actually making some efforts defensively. And if that means he gives up, 1 to 2 points a game on the other end, but DeMar's not going to kill us in defensive lineups, I'm happy with that personally.
100%.
I'm happy with that. So that's good to see. Lucas Nogueira, unrestricted free agent at this point. I'm not sure. You think Lucas is coming back, maybe even for the minimum? No? Fair enough. I wouldn't disagree with you there. So OG Anunoby, DeMar DeRozan, Serge Ibaka, Kyle Lowry, Alfonso McKinney, CJ Miles, Jakob Pertl, Norman Powell, Malachi Richardson, Pascal Siakam, Jonas Valanciunas, Fred VanVleet, and DeLon Wright. So they're running it back. Essentially, they're running it back.
Yeah.
Same team as last year.
Same everything except coach.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll be interested to see kind of what happens here. Okay, let's talk. I know I don't want to spend too much time on this, but this whole Kawhi Leonard thing. There's been some rumblings. Vegas has as the best odds to be able to sign him or trade for him or whatever you want to call it. What's your kind of overall take on this? Is there a package that you can conceive that you would put together for Kawhi Leonard in the event that he doesn't stay? In the event that he doesn't stay, is there a package that you can conceive that you would put together for Kawhi Leonard?
Nothing they'd accept. He has to.
I agree.
He has to. like we're not gonna rinse San Antonio. Like, Toronto's not gonna rip them off.
They
There's
won't
no
be doing
way.
that.
So
RC Buford is too smart for that.
exactly. So that's what I mean. So you have to give if you can guarantee an extension with Kawhi Leonard, where he is going to play and he's going to want to play.
Yeah.
You give up whatever they want, essentially. Well, not whatever, but you're whatever it takes to get Kawhi. I'm gonna throw it at.
Yeah, fair enough,
sure.
fair enough.
But if I can't get that,
signing.
if he resigns,
Yeah.
if I can't get for at least 3 years,
Yeah.
if I can't get that, then I'm not really offering for Kawhi because they're not going to accept what we'd offer.
No, I agree. And there's some people on the blog saying, oh yeah, give up Kyle Lowry, Ibaka and Powell for Kawhi, and okay, you're sending them $80 million in salary and getting back $20 million. They're not going to do that. They're not taking out $80 million of old people's salary.
Exactly. People just don't understand.
Yeah, other than Norman Powell. But but kind of circling back to the beginning of the podcast, this is what we talk about when we say the salaries have to match. The salary is just a part of what the player's value is in the league.
100%.
In the league, and so that has to be taken into account. So this team is making the playoffs. This team is going to be the second best team in the East. Yeah. How do you think they get to 50? How many wins did they get? 59 last year?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
How many wins do you think this year? Weaker East.
56. 55.
I'm going 57. I'm going 57. I'm going 57. But yeah, no, I think running it back one more time, this team is still relatively young.
Yep.
I mean, realistically, Kyle Lowry would probably be the decline candidate.
Yeah.
We expected that last year, to be honest, too, but he didn't decline that much. But I believe this year is it's coming this year. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I'm not going to slander Kyle though.
Nope, not going to slander Kyle whatsoever. Raptors are in a good spot. That 2 or 3 year window before all the money contracts expire is kind of what we're focused on right now as Raptor fans. So we'll see how that goes. Finally, in the East, the Washington Wizards.
A playoff team as well.
Another playoff team, correct.
Probably the 5, 6, 7 range. 5, 6 probably.
Yeah, something along those lines, I would guess as well. So the Washington Wizards are over the cap by 300. Imagine they were over the cap by 300 million. Wizards are over the cap by $33 million and over the tax by $11 million. Their luxury tax bill looking like $19 million. A team that
quite a high luxury.
Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm not
but I still think they could very well be 4th, 5th in the East. But I'm gonna say probably 5th or 6th is more realistic.
Yeah, for sure.
5th is probably their likely spot, I think.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Highest earner for this team is Otto Porter Jr. at $26 million this year. He's taken up 19% of the cap. They have their full tax pyramid level as well as some trade exceptions. And they have $34 million in salary, but no space to be a 2019 contender. And this is as good as time ever to pull up John Wall's salary once the extension kicks in. Because if you don't know what this is, you are going to laugh once you hear...
Well, you're pretty anti-John Wall. I'm not
pro-John Wall. I'm not anti-John Wall. I'm just saying... In 2019-20, you're paying him $37 million.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of knee surgeries.
No, I know.
I can think of another guy with a lot of knee surgeries that got paid a lot of money. His rhymes with Eric Rose.
No, I know. Yeah, but it's a different situation.
Fair enough. Maybe I'm going over the top there, but dude, John Wall in 2019-20 is getting 37.8. In 2020-2021, he's getting $40 million, and in 2021-2022. He's getting $43 million. By that time, he's going to be 33.
Yeah.
$43 million.
Yeah. Good contract, John. You did it.
I don't know who his agent is, but he should get a raise.
Yeah.
He should get a big, fat raise. But that's basically what's handicapping them over the next few years. That John Wall contract.
But you think they're going to be able to sign someone better than John Wall? Really?
No. By no means am I saying they're going to... I don't think anybody in I think John Wall's a top... 5 player in the East, maybe a little
top 10 for sure,
okay,
but top 5 you could argue.
Yeah, you could definitely. It's definitely arguable, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm not casting aspersions on John Wall. I'm just saying, I'm a huge CP3 fan. I don't even think that 4 years, $160 million contract for CP3 is a good contract. Imagine what I think of the John Wall deal.
Yeah, fair.
You know what I mean? So that's just the way I look at it. But the Washington Wizards, they'll be a playoff team. Yeah, they have some good guys. Let's run through the roster real quick here. Where's the roster? Oh, no. Okay, there we go. So they added Thomas Bryant, Jeff Green, Dwight Howard, and Austin Rivers. Yeah, God, this is going to be a funny roster. They drafted Troy Brown, who I saw a little bit of, not in college. I watched a bit of his tape as well. I think Summer League, I saw a couple games as well. Isuf Sanin at 44. Again, not too knowledgeable about him, but we will find out, hopefully, or maybe not. Lost Marcin Gortat to the Clippers. Lost Mike Scott also to the Clippers. Free agents for the Wizards include Tim Frazier, Ty Lawson, Chris McCullough and Ramon Sessions, all unrestricted free agents. And just rounding up their roster, Bradley Beal, Jan Mahimi. Oh, that's another bad deal. I'm going to take a look at that one in a second.
But it ends soon, I believe.
Huh?
I think it ends soon.
No, I think that was one of those 2016 ones. That has a couple more years on it, yeah. Jody Meeks, Markieff Morris, Kelly Oubre, Otto Porter, Devin Robinson.
Jan Mahimi's 2020.
Yeah, 2020. There you go. Thomas Satoransky, Jason Smith, and then John Wall. So, yeah, this team's got some pieces, but again, middle of the pack team in the East here. Again, some of that money is going to be a little bit tough to get off of. I need to see exactly how much.
Jan Mahimi's 464.
464, right? Yeah, that's just no good. I'm sorry. I think that's just not a good contract for.
He's making $16 million this year.
Oh God, my stomach hurts for you, Washington. But yeah, I mean that's I guess that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, again, Wizards going to be a playoff team, middle of the pack playoff team, but don't expect them to be much more than that. And just considering their cap structure and how much John Wall is making over the next couple of years, they look like they're in for a large commitment. But yeah, that'll wrap it up for the Eastern Conference. Wow, that went a lot longer than I expected. I was trying to keep that under an hour, and we're close to an hour and 25 now. But thanks for sticking around, Nick. I know that was probably a long, in-depth kind of look at everything, but yeah, I think it was a good kind of overview, good content for the listeners to try and, if they want kind of one podcast to just try to get an idea of how the 2018 season looked going in.
For the East, yeah, for sure, man. It doesn't matter that it lasts a little longer. If it's a good podcast and it's 25 minutes longer, I'm down. Well,
yeah, just a good kind of over scope of listen for an hour and a half, really get a good understanding of the landscape of the NBA. Like from our perspective, I think we did a good job there. So again, thanks for having us on. We'll do the West now. I'm not sure if you are going to be here for the West, but that's okay either or. We will get the West out within good time. And then from there, I don't know what I'm going to do after that. We'll probably try to think of maybe some player rankings and stuff like that. I think you might be interested in that. Just player rankings by position and maybe by team and, some other ideas like that, but we'll get to that eventually. But thanks for listening once again, and we'll be back with the Western Conference versions in good time. See you then.